joins me live here at Stadium MK. Game of two halves, but with Tranmere being a little better in the second half, but you got all 3 points, and there was so much good to talk about in amongst one of two things that you probably want to do better.
Yeah, and that's the same on Tuesday, same last Saturday. You know, even with the 5-3 win at Wrexham, we knew there was things that we can improve. There's always going to be things to improve, and we'll never take our eye off that. But let's get it straight. We're about dominating the scoreline and winning games, and that's what we've done in succession. Both league games, home and away. Clean sheet, big for us. You know, after pre-season and so forth, and we spoke about it, and fair play to the players. But yeah, I thought we were really, really dominant in the first half. We were absolutely excellent. Couldn't ask for anything more, apart from a little bit of a clinical finish in some of the attacks, and to go further in the lead. We knew there's always going to be a response from any opposition, because they've got good players. And they know how to come back into a game, and you know they caused us problems in the second half. Some things we dealt with really well, some things we could have dealt with better, but we got the 3 points, and that's the main thing.
What struck me in that first half is everybody knew their job, they knew what they were meant to be doing, and they were there in the right place at the right time, clearing the balls as well. We've seen over the last few years, Graham, and I know this is irrelevant because you're now in charge, but we've seen over the last few years sometimes playing the ball out when actually you don't need to play the ball out, you can actually deliver the ball long, and sometimes playing the ball out is the right thing to do, but decision making was right in that, certainly in that first half.
That's what we're talking about, you know, decision making. So the right decision last week away from home is the right decision at home this week. It's the same thing. It's the same game. We still want to win. We still want to put pressure on the opponent. You know, I watched Man City against Burnley last night, full press on, going straight up to Haaland. I think 29-30 times from the goalkeeper to Haaland. You know what I mean? Liverpool had the record of the most long passes in the Premier League last season. You got to find ways to win. It's about making the right pass at the right time. If we can combine and play round people, we'll do that. If we have to hit big diagonals for our wing backs, we'll do that. If we've got pace up front and there's space in behind, we'll play that. It's about making the right decision at the right time. That's it. That's a skill. That's a talent. That's an ability. And I thought our players really did that. But it was hard to get to grips in the second half. They sort of went gung ho, and they kept changing their shape with different subs and everything. It was hard to get a grip on what they were actually doing at sometimes. I think they played with the freedom, and they've got the big lad up top who they can go into, who causes problems. But there's going to be games, like I said at the start of the season, where we play really well, like last week, score loads of goals, and there's other ones where we have to grind them out. And today we ground it out, but we deserve to win it off the first half performance.
And from the outside, I'm not really an outsider, but from an outsider looking in, what's nice is to see players that have improved since last season to a certain extent, you know, and players that not forgotten. Ethan Robinson wasn't a forgotten player, but he didn't have a lot of football last season, and he's come and he's putting in performances that you're like, yeah, that's what we know Ethan Robinson's capable of. And Jack Tuckers looks more confident on the ball. You must be pleased that those players are developing.
Yeah, well, look, we had to bury last season. Whatever happened before, we had to bury it. And
I will stop talking about last season, by the way. I promise. At some point this season.
No, yeah, but no, look, we couldn't completely dismiss it. But we wanted it to be a fresh start for people. So, and that's generally what it was. So, we've avoided, even when we talked about. So after Tuesday night, we talked about keeping a clean sheet, and we didn't go into last season. We just thought about, since me and Chris have been here, we haven't kept a clean sheet in pre-season. So we weren't looking at anything that happened before we came here, because it is a fresh start for everyone. We're asking them to do different things. We challenge them to open their minds about how to play, how to win games of football, how to start games, how to see out leads and not concede early, or not concede too in quick fashion. So we're trying to put management processes into their minds to win games of football, and intelligent players with an open mind who want to improve will take those messages on and put them into practice. So those two guys in particular, I think, have done that, but certainly throughout the squad, players are seeing that we are generally here to make a fresh start and not look at the past.
The one thing that you probably look at from the game is that you're probably missing just a couple of players in certain areas. You know, maybe that a player like Norris, maybe just hold the ball in the middle there up front, and just a player like that maybe you're looking for.
That's your opinion, but no, but I understand. No, look, listen, we've played 3 games against different opposition. They've all had somebody like that in their team, and you know, to get up the pitch and cause you problems and they've started with them, they brought them off of the bench. We haven't got that type of player, which is obviously apparent, but we still have enough to win games of football. But what we'd like is a squad that can tick all the boxes. That's what we talked about. You're never going to get one player who ticks all the boxes, at any level. What you have to have is a squad of players that have pace, have technical ability, have strength, have energy, have experience, have youth. All those things, we need to tick all the boxes. So there's a couple of things that we need to improve on the squad to make sure we've got a full box of a full arsenal to take on anyone every week.
And that's ongoing, isn't it? I mean, the transfer window's still open. That's ongoing. Yeah. I suppose, to a certain extent, just finally from me, you've got to look for that and plan for that. But if it doesn't happen, you've got to make sure that you're going to move on anyway. You're going to play the rest of the season with the players you've got if you can't get something.
Yeah, listen, one thing I've always done, even with injured players or suspended players or players that are not at our club, I've always dealt with the players that can be picked by us and massively backed them and supported them. I've never talked negatively about the group of players that want to go out onto the pitch, and never talked about actually not being able to win a game without somebody else playing. Never, ever will happen, because I believe whatever team we put out has always got an opportunity to win a game of football. So, but we understand the challenges and the sort of hurdles you're going to have to overcome over 50 games. That's the reality, and we have to deal with reality, and that's where we have to improve. But listen, we are all on the same page, and I keep saying this, and it's a really difficult market. There's a lot of competitors out there for players, and the type of players we're trying to get are coveted by others and coveted by their current clubs. So it's a difficult one, but hopefully players can see what we're trying to do here. I think they'll join a group of players if we can bring players in that are highly motivated together. You can see that. You can see that in all the games that have been together, and ambitious. So hopefully we can attract the right player to join that group.
That's great, isn't it? We're top of the table after 2 games and two victories, and we're talking about some of the things that aren't right. I mean, that's just, I suppose that's just a sign, isn't it, that things are going well.
Well, yeah. I mean, you're talking about things that are going right. So no, listen.
I'm being uber critical, but I mean,
no. You've just seen things, in games where we've lost maybe control of it, or we're up against it, and that's where we need that ability to change and adapt. So that's is plain. But I am a positive thinking guy, and I want to talk about the positives of our players. And what I saw there today was like you say, it was 2 different halves, but we've won the game by doing what we had to do in both halves. And that's what you have to do. You have to sometimes play great football, create loads of chances to take one, and then others you have to have your backs against the wall, look at your teammate next to you and think, he's with me, I'm with him. And that's what it was today in the second half. And what I would say is the supporters were with us as well, side by side, shoulder to shoulder, and that's how you win games of football.
I am positive.
I know. Yeah, the listeners can't see you smiling, so don't worry. I'll tell them you're smiling.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
Jonathan Lecco looked a little bit frustrated coming off, and threw his arms out. But I suppose that's the kind of passion you want from a player to stay on the field.
Good. Yeah. I'd be desperately disappointed if I was sort of player wanting to be taken off. But listen, all players need to understand that it's what we have to do to win a game of football, and if we decide, because of the type of game it is or what's happening, that we're bringing on another excellent professional footballer, then they have to show respect for the player that's coming on, whether they disagree or agree with the decision. Well, they're never going to agree with the decision, to be fair, unless they're flat on the back. But
again, you don't want that from your strikers, do you? Or anyone on your
with anyone. Ask my previous managers when I come off the pitch. Don't worry about that. So no, I've got no problem. Listen, all I've got a problem with, if there is a problem, is you have to respect that there's more than 11 good players at Milton Keynes Dons. That's the one thing. So have the discussion with me after the game. Have it on Monday. Come with me evidence why I should have kept you on, and that's always a good point. If you haven't got it, then just crack on for the next game.
I mean, it was a tough, certainly in the second half, wasn't it, for both him and Mo? Balls coming their way, but they were just going straight back past them, weren't they, really?
Yeah, but there's things you can do to help that. Don't play in front of centre halves, make runs in behind, and play in between the lines, and compete. And we asked them just at half time, and I thought Mo did that in the remainder of the game. we don't expect you to go and win headers against players who are 6 inches taller than you, but you can still compete to help the rest of your team win second phases and pick up the ball. And the higher up the pitch we can get, the better it is for us. But we never really got in behind them in the second half. It was all in front of them. They dealt better with the pressure in the second half that they did with the first. But no, listen, I'm delighted with everyone who went on that pitch today, because they all contributed to winning the game of football.
And one player I think who stood out for me, the guy wearing the armband, Alex Gilby, felt like he covered everywhere, and right to the very end, chasing every ball down.
Yeah, but honestly, if his stats will be high, but so will like 5, 6, 7 other players. Because they're all doing that. Listen, Gilbs is a great character, a great personality, and an excellent footballer, and he takes on the tactical instruction and what we need to do in games really well. I think they've got him and Cam Norman and Warren Hoare have got a great sort of relationship on that side of the pitch. We're still trying to create that on the left side, but I think we are doing that with Ethan and Dan Harvey and Tommy Smith. So there's relationships that are growing on the pitch throughout the team, the front two, combining MJ with the centre halves. So all these things come into the equation, but they don't happen overnight. We're still only 3 games into a long season, and there's new players scattered throughout that team. But look, Gibbs has got the armband for a reason, because he leads by example.
I was going to say, what was it that you saw in him that made you give him that armband? It was that leadership ability.
Yeah, look, there's not one day where he hasn't maxed out his output. When we've criticised him in pre-season things, he takes it on the chin like a man. Wants to prove me wrong if that's the case. Sort of G's up the rest of his players, even in training. Loves winning a 5-side, 5v5. If he wins 1-0, 2-0, he's celebrating, he's punching the air. I love that. I love that spirit, that will to win daily. It's a daily habit you need to have, and we're trying to instill that in every one of our professionals. I think it's within them all, because you don't become a professional footballer without having a competitive streak and wanting to win. It's about reminding yourself every day as a professional that you've got to keep competing, and Alex Gilby epitomises that as well as other players. So I must say he'll be the first to tell you that he's not the only one in that group that is pushing and egging each other on. It's forming, they're coming together, and long may it continue.
And a clean sheet, we mentioned it in the last couple of interviews, haven't we, about how keen you are for a clean sheet, but how much of is it a weight off the mind of the defenders, or is it just like a breathe a sigh of relief and move on?
It's a step forward. It's not it's good to get it today, because we have spoke about it. We didn't really have much time to work on it on the training pitch because of the game Tuesday, but we did a bit of analysis. We did a bit of taking responsibility, us all, myself, Chris, and the players, and Herbs as a goalkeeping coach with the keepers. That this is our careers. That final third. That's where decides how high you go, how many games you win, how many clean sheets you keep. So we have to take every other aspect out of the equation and focus on that. And so they've done that today. They took a step forward, but we have to follow it up on Tuesday, like we did when we talked about winning the game last Saturday. It didn't win us any points this week. You saw the effort the players had to put in, and it's going to be to win today. We're going to have to do that all again on Tuesday.